I am April from the Vocal Veteran, and this is going to be a Q&A or frequently asked questions live because it's 3 months since I've become an accredited claims agent, and I get some of the same questions over and over again, and I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to celebrate 3 months as an accredited claims agent and then to answer the questions that I get all the time about who do I work with, how do I work with people, what does it cost, like all of that. I'm going to pull the curtain back. I was going to say expose the secrets. There are no secrets. It is what it is. So I'm going to do that. And then if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I'm happy to answer those as well. I have time until I have an hour. So I'll be on as long as there are questions to answer until that hour is up. And then I'll be off to do my client work. I'm going to take a sip of coffee because I need a little more. Okay, so I have the questions printed out. And I will start at the top and work my way down. Can you work with people out of state? So I live in Louisiana, like South Louisiana, near New Orleans. And a lot of the people, obviously, that I run into on a regular basis are like, hey, I have this or that friend or relative that's a veteran, but they live in Minnesota or Rhode Island or whatever. Can you work with them? Absolutely. So claims agents, accredited claims agents and lawyers and anyone who represents veterans with the VA can work with any veteran anywhere. So even if you happen to be a U.S. military veteran living overseas, I can work with someone who lives out of state, out of country, because VA and veteran benefits are a federal program. It is not state specific. There are benefits that you have as a veteran different in different states, right? So the overarching VA benefit program is the same no matter where you live. But then depending on what state you're in, you might get additional benefits. So there are certain states that offer even more incentives for veterans who have service-connected disability ratings. I happen to know the only state I know of, at least, is Oklahoma that does no state tax if you have 100% permanent and total disability rating. So that's a huge advantage if you're living in the state of Oklahoma. And there are other states that offer massive discounts on your property tax, depending on your level of disability. So that's something that you can look into, like in your specific state. But as far as getting disability ratings and working with someone who helps you with that, doesn't matter where you live. Okay, next question. Can you work with any branch of service? So I am a United States Navy veteran. And so a lot of my first clients were people I had served with, friends of mine from my time in service, but it does not matter what branch of service you served in. Any veteran service officer or claims agent or accredited lawyer can work with any veteran of any branch of service. So again, the VA disability benefits are the same no matter which branch of service you were in. They are also the same no matter what rank you were. So you could have been an officer or enlisted or anything in between. Your VA benefits are the same. We are all the same. All right. Can you work with retired? Can you work with National Guard? Can you work with reservists? Yes, yes, and yes. A lot of times, specifically people that served in the reserves or the National Guard have been told or have the impression that they aren't eligible for certain benefits because they were never active duty. And there are some benefits that you might not be eligible for, but there are also benefits that you are eligible for. So that is definitely worth asking about and pursuing. If you have disabilities related to your time when you were serving, then that is worth looking into. I haven't ever done a claim before. Is that something you help with? Initial claims are not something that I help with. So if you have never ever done a disability claim with the VA, then that is something you can either do on your own or you can work with a veteran service officer to help you with. I have a whole video series that I will link in these show notes after I post this. I have a whole video series on how to start your claim and how to go through submitting your claim online. It's step by step, really breaks down the process to make it as easy as possible for you. And that is something I absolutely believe you can do on your own. You also can get help, like I said, from a veteran service officer. But those initial claims are not something that claims agents or lawyers or people who provide services to veterans at cost. Like we are not allowed to charge for initial claims. So if you are doing your very first claim with VA, that's not something that we are allowed to charge for. And those of us that are running a business need to prioritize things that are going to allow us to continue paying the bills so that we can continue to serve veterans. So that's why I created an entire video series on how to do that, because it is, if you've never done it before, you probably have some questions about it. And that's why those videos are there, so that you can do that on your own. And then if for some reason that decision comes back and it is not favorable, if you were not able to get service connection, let's say for hearing loss, that seems to be one that is very common at least in my experience so far. Then someone like me can help you, because that is something that a claims agent or a lawyer is able to advocate for you to VA and prove to them why you need to be service connected for whatever that condition was. So in this example, it would be hearing loss. There are obviously many more cases like that. And so that's something that an accredited agent or a lawyer is trained to do, is to advocate for you to help you get higher ratings or to get service connection where you were denied service connection. So then here comes the piece about charging, right? So I get, in fact, last week I got a text from a friend who he is a veteran and he was helping another veteran, and they had done a lot on their own and they kept getting denied. And so he reached out to me and said, "Is this something you can help with?" And I said, "Absolutely. This is my bread and butter. This is what I do." And then he said, "Well, how much are you going to charge?" Because obviously this veteran was a friend of his and he just, doesn't want to set him up to have a massive bill at the end of the day or something like that. The way that I handle fees is to charge 20% of any back pay that is recovered when we either get you service connection or get that disability rating increased. So let's go back to the hearing loss example. Let's say you've been denied service connection for hearing loss and you want to appeal it. Someone like me could work with you on that. We appeal it. You are granted service connection for that hearing loss. And when you are granted service connection, then you get back pay to the date when either you started the appeal or you started the claim, depending on how soon you started the appeal after the initial denial. So you get a massive, hopefully massive chunk of back pay. And that amount, 20% of that amount, is what you pay your claims agent. If we're talking about me, that's how much I charge. So just 20% of the back pay. There is no recurring fees. There is no initial fees. It's very straightforward. And that's it. And then you're off on your own doing whatever you want to do with the rest of the compensation that you get every month. So there you go. Pretty simple. The last question I just got 2 times in a week is really interesting. I'm about to get out of the military. Should I start a claim now? And the answer is yes. If you are within 180 days of getting out, you can start your claim. And that allows VA to get things in place so that hopefully, and I say hopefully because there are no guarantees, but hopefully you will have your disability rating by the time you get out, and then you're your last day of active duty is a Tuesday, and then ideally your disability benefits start on Wednesday. Does that actually happen? Sometimes. But VA, especially right now, is very overwhelmed. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of claims coming in, a lot of new people being hired. And so the rate at which things are completed can vary like a ton. So, all that to say, the sooner you start, the better. You're not allowed to start before you're 180 days out. But once you get to 180 days, then you can start. I have some like a rundown of things to do. I can put that in the show notes as well, because that's also not something that people are getting a lot of training on, at least not the people that are reaching out to me. So I'm happy to help with that as well. I'm trying to think if there was any other. I thought there was something else I was thinking of, like right as I was going live, that I was like, oh, I can also talk about that, and I have now forgotten it. Okay, well, I'm going to stay on a few more minutes, and this is like, here we go. I'm going to stay on a few more minutes in case anybody has any extra questions, and I will probably like hit end and then remember what I was going to talk about. Well, let me talk about hearing loss, because I've done several videos on this. As I mentioned, have several clients that are dealing with this issue, so I imagine this is not uncommon to not get service connection for hearing loss right away. So if you had high noise exposure in service, then there is a high probability that you will have hearing loss after service. However, if you didn't do an initial claim when you first got out, and then you also didn't have hearing loss that was, quote, that bad, or you didn't want to admit it was that bad for a long time, and then maybe it's 20 years later and you finally are needing hearing aids and it's starting to get, annoying, your spouse or friends are asking you to repeat, you're asking them to repeat themselves all the time. So you finally get around to doing a VA claim. Well, odds are that VA is going to then say, well, sure, your hearing is bad now, but you served 20 years ago, so that's not on us. You have probably had other noise exposures between your time in service and now. So then you might say, okay, well, I lost, that's it. And then think that you're not able to get service connection for hearing loss. And it is discouraging, I will give you that. Nobody likes to be told no. Nobody, especially we don't want to be told that like we are somehow wrong to think that noise exposure in service would result in hearing loss. It seems like a no-brainer. And yet, VA, at least in the case of some of my clients, has consistently denied service connection. So that's where someone like me comes in and is able to construct some really strong arguments for why the noise exposure in service did start to erode your hearing, and that it was gradual hearing loss over time. And so you didn't realize for 10 or 15 years, and then didn't, apply until you found out it was even a thing, right? So I guess what the big moral of the story is don't give up on the first time out, especially, or the second or the third. Like, this is, if you truly know that the noise exposure you had in service, or, if we're talking about a different thing, like the injury that you had to your knee in service has resulted in all of these issues you're having now, get someone, a professional, to help you write those arguments and submit them on your behalf, because it's worth it. And even though it can be discouraging, the result in the end means that you will have service connection and disability benefits for the rest of your life. And that is something that is a huge benefit for both you and your family. So I would encourage you to look into getting a claims agent or an accredited lawyer, someone who has the capability of looking at your VA service record, at your time and service record and your VA claims process, the background of everything. That's where someone like me is able to see what the CMP examiners have said, why that resulted in the negative service connection decision, and then create an argument that will basically counteract everything that they are trying to say negatively. This is one of those jobs that I'm thrilled to have. Like I love it so much, and at the same time, it's sad that I have to have this job. Right? We would, in an ideal world, we would love for VA to do everything correctly the first time, and it's not an ideal world. And so, someone like me is able to help veterans when they've been denied to get the service connection and get the ratings that they've earned, and just for whatever reason have not been able to get granted on their own. So I am accepting new clients in 2 weeks. I will be able to start working with new clients. I have a few cases that I'm finishing up now, and then I'm going to the National Organization of Veteran Advocate let's say seminar. It's a conference. I'm going to the conference next week. So I'll be learning a ton, I'm sure. And then when I come back, I'll be able to take on new clients. So if you would like to apply to work with me, go to thevocalveteran.com. There is an application there, and we can set up a time to talk and see if it would be a good fit. I really enjoy the work that I do. I'm very passionate about it. And getting positive results. Like yesterday, I was able to make a call, like one of those calls that you dream about making, that you're able to say to a veteran, we did it. We did it. We finally got that service connection we've been working for so long. So I'm so excited to be on this path and would love to help more veterans. So again, thevocalveteran.com if you'd like to apply to work with me. And I'll see you next time. Bye.